All right, beautiful. I'm Jason Fitzgerald. I'm here at ISE 2026, VP for Product in the United States, but I'm here in beautiful Barcelona. I almost said Amsterdam, but we're not there anymore. We're in Barcelona. This is our brand new ACM1000. What the ACM1000 is an evolution of what our ACM210 was. So this brings a whole host of new updates. So what you'll see is a familiar drag and drop interface. Of course, we can make changes to any of the inputs simply by dragging and dropping, of course, a source onto a receiver. But we've now included the ability to do presets. So presets was a much needed update that allows us to basically set up routes between multiple transmitters and receivers. So we can preset up routes, for example, maybe a default setup that we need to have a specific routing for a hotel bar or a restaurant or for a corporate application. We can simply then press on a preset and then it'll make all those routing changes at once. Groups is a little bit different. So group adds in the capability to group receivers together. So if we've got multiple receivers, say that we want to change all at the same time. A great example I use is, again, more in the kind of commercial side of, let's say I've got a hotel bar with multiple screens and I want to put a specific football game, that's football, not soccer, right, in different, onto, let's say, 3 specific screens. I can have them in a group and then drag and drop, of course, that source onto that group. So these are 2 new options that give you a lot more control over displays and routing in quick and easy ways to do that. Now, addition to that, one of the biggest changes that you're going to find is this advanced control tab. This advanced control tab allows you to set up IR, CEC, RS-232 commands that you can program into the ACM1000 that is now going to give us source and display control. Now this is important because previously all we could do was control routes, right, between a TX and RX, but if you had to change a SAT box receiver, for example, to a particular channel, you wanted to control your display, we've now given you that ability with this advanced control. So once those program commands, that's IR, CEC, and serial, are programmed in, I can assign these for either sources or display to a remote control. So here are sources. I can assign those commands that I just created and create a virtual remote control that now turns this into a control platform. So let's say, for example, I can click on this little remote icon here and I can now, my pre-programmed, let's say, volume and mute or source device controls, I can now do it directly from here. So what we have is a platform that gives you out-of-box control functionality. Now, we're not a control company, nor do we want to be a control company, but now what we have is an entire video IP system that control all of your AV equipment. So along with that, we can now, of course, create macros, which means I can set up multiple commands now in sequence. We can use these also to do very cool things like create redundant scenarios. So let's say we're in a digital signage application where I have a display connected to a source, and let's say something happens to that source. I can have it say, you know what, if that source goes offline, I can automatically have it switch to another source so nothing then goes away. I've always got content playing. So macros is a really powerful tool, or to queue up a bunch of different commands that I've programmed in to be able to, let's say, do a sequence of things. Turn on a display, close the blinds, right? Set to a particular input on a TV. All those can be macroed up in a program. So these presets and groups are where we set those things up, of course, as you saw at the beginning. Scheduling is also a new function and feature. So now we can take some of those macros that we've created and now just simply schedule them out, right? So I can say, you know what? At 7 o'clock every night, the office closes. I want all the routes to go back to a static route. So when I walk in the next day in the morning, it's all the system is back to where it originally is supposed to be. So that powerful functionality takes really the control from just saying, I'm controlling my IP equipment, and takes it to what I like to call one ring or one layer out to now your source and device control. And that's the power of the ACM1000. Now, this will initially control our IP300s and our IP200 series of video over IP products out of the gate, which also means if you have an existing system and you want to update your system with this functionality, you just swap out the controller from a 210 to a 1000 or a 200 if you're super old school, all right, ACM200. Now, for the ACM1000, we've got both, like I said, IP 200s and 300s. Now the 300 series, very cool. So the 300 series takes us from 4K 30 to 4K 60. So the IP 300 will allow us full 4K 60 444 on a 1 gigabit network. The 300 series gives us all the same controls. It's IR, serial, CEC, USB capabilities. We also have a brand new wall plate as well. Now that wall plate transmitter is something that's been really asked for. It allows us to basically set up a wall plate. We've actually got it sitting over here to be be able to input HDMI and USB-C, the first USB-C input, directly then into our system from a wall plate. And it'll auto switch between those two inputs, or set it up manually, right? The IP350 takes that same platform and adds Dante capability. So now we have Dante and AES67, of course, into the IP350 platform, then for all sorts of scenarios. So I can take audio from an HDMI input and demux that audio or strip it off and then send it directly into Dante. They also have analog balanced in and out, so I can, of course, take an analog input and put it into my transmitter, put that into Dante, or at the same time I can take Dante and then take it out of the IP300. So really, because we have a transmitter and a receiver, we can do all sorts of scenarios. A great use case for the IP350 is that I've got my receiver, it's taking video from any one of my sources, and at the receiver, I take the audio from there and put it into Dante. Now, what does that give you? That gives you switched audio now into your Dante system, all right? So all this is going to be available, including a very cool update to the IP300s, which if you take a real close look here, you'll see this Dante Ready icon here. The IP300s will now have the ability to work with Dante video. So this is a license that's done through Dante, but since they're activated, or in other words, they're ready for Dante, you can simply use an application that we have that you can go into Dante, pay for a Dante license, input it, and now you've got video and audio for Dante in our IP300 lines. We still have the 350, which does Dante separately, and AES67 for the audio side, but with video, it can be done on the 300. It's a lot of talking. ACM1000, IP300 line, IP350. Not sure if there's anything that I missed, but if not, you can always visit us on our website, of course, at our Blustream regionals. They're all available there.